Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the algorithm webinar on the Exact Macola 10 mobile apps. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us. A couple of housekeeping items first. I just want to make sure that you're aware you can join the audio conference either by dialing in on the telephone or through the integrated voice conference. And it does appear that everyone that's logged in at this point is connected to the audio conference, but if you should have difficulties, the number is available there on your screen to call in. Before we begin, I just want to make a couple of announcements. First of all, in case you haven't noticed the messages that we have been sending out, Algorithm is pleased to be the platinum sponsor for this year's Exact Macola customer conference called Evolve in Boca Raton, Florida on the second week of May, and we encourage everyone to consider attending. Last year's event was very well received, and we're looking forward to an even better event this year. There are several different types of breakout sessions that you can register for at the time of actually registering for the event. You can go to the Algorithm Inc. website and click through the banner ad at the top of the page to actually initiate the registration process. The purpose of this webinar is this and several others that we're going to be doing over the next couple of months, is to actually provide a more focused, narrow type of demonstration of some particular features of the Exact Macola 10 solution that is available now. Today we're going to be focusing on the mobile apps that are available with Exact Macola 10, and my colleague Carl McKinney from Algorithm is our presenter today. And he's going to walk us through the mobile apps. You can submit questions at any point during the conference, either in the chat window or in the Q&A window. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So your microphones are muted at this time. We will unmute the microphones when we open the Q&A session. But if you have questions during the presentation, please feel free to submit them, as I said, either in the chat window or in the Q&A window on the side of your screen. With that said, I'm going to turn things over to Carl so that we can actually dive into these mobile apps. Carl, it's all yours.
Thank you so much, Jeff, and I appreciate everybody being on the call today. Again, my name is Carl McKinney. I'm going to discuss Exact Macola 10, the mobility apps. So there's several. And we want to just unpackage a little bit more of what those are here in a second. So let me first remove this little tool panel. Jump back in here. All right. So here's an agenda for today. Very brief, but we want to just kind of highlight some of the topics that we're going to be discussing a little further. So Exact Macola 10, kind of holistically what that is and that product offering will provide. And then current state of mobility, so some of the trends that we see in technology that are obviously directing Exact to pay attention to this space and to develop apps specifically for users of this space. The customer scenarios, so that's going to be how we define some of the people that would take advantage of some of these applications. And then the Exact applications themselves. And there's three that we're going to highlight today, both available in the Google Play Store, iOS Store. And then we'll go into a demonstration of not only just the mobile applications, but also the Exact Macola 10 itself, so you can see where the data originates from and how it's all asynchronous between the two worlds. And then we'll end it with a little Q&A, and it'll be very quick, short and sweet. So let's start with Exact Macola 10. So Exact Macola 10 is product offering's been out for a little under a year, built on the tools that you already use. So a lot of the attendees that I've noticed are already Macola users. So we're speaking to kind of an audience that understands Exact's rich history of being a software vendor, and they're continuing their innovation with Exact Macola 10. So what some of the things that were previously named, something like the BPM aspect here, for example, that was Exact Synergy Enterprise. And the core ERP slide, or square, that was the Macola ES segment of the offering. And then Business Activity Monitoring, or BAM, would be the event manager of the olden days. And then personalized workspaces would be what was originally called Navigator. So they've taken, these disparate things that used to function kind of in their own silo, and they've begun to bring them all under one roof, one software, with the ability to now leverage those powerful tools in a new way. So it's very exciting to see this in the ERP space, and we at Algorithm are very, very dialed into this message, because it is one of succinctness and one of simplicity in a time where business is becoming more and more advanced and things are being more complex. Exact's taken this step to try and simplify and bring things more under the umbrella of making it work for the users in a more nuanced and intuitive way. So we're excited about that. So we bring up these things just to give you an idea of what Exact Macola 10 Mobile is all about, and it's built on the same core functionality that you see in the desktop application. So an integrated ERP in a completely new way. You've got the powerful Microsoft Office integration, the ability to save out documentation from Synergy or from Microsoft Office products and link those right into the back-end ERP of Macola. And then extensibility. So you can further leverage reporting that you couldn't have access to prior to Exact Macola 10 through Exact opening up some of the product to allow for SQL Server reporting services to operate within there, and you have a whole host of other reporting options available to you. So extensibility, plus they've coupled that with an ease of use that you haven't seen from ERPs in times past. So all exciting stuff. Current state of mobility. So this is just a slide I gathered from Nielsen. It talks to America's use of mobile products, mobile phones, tablets, e-readers, etc. But you can see the predominant trend in technology is towards things that are cloud-based and mobile-based, and have the ability to be accessed from any number of devices, and not just, back in the olden days, a desktop, and then, more advanced than that would be a laptop. But now you have a whole suite of full functioning technology that lives on in your pocket, so to speak. So here's just some statistics. 90% of American adults have a cell phone. I would find that to be true. In an anecdotal sense, I see people all the time with those. 58% of American adults have a smartphone. So those are going to be your iPhones. In the last 7 years, these things have taken on a whole new industry of their own, have created, a gold rush of app development, and additionally another way for customers to utilize their technology in their businesses. So these trends that are being adopted in our personal lives are kind of taking shape into our professional roles, and this is just a slide that helps to denote that. 32% of American adults own an e-reader, so your Kindles and your Nooks, and then 42%, almost half Americans, have a tablet of some sort. So these are pretty powerful slides that just dictate, this direction of mobility and where it currently lives in this world. So we have, as a result of this, again, being, proliferating in our personal lives, we think about ways to think or leverage these tools in our professional roles. And here's some of the scenarios that may benefit from the use of these Exact apps present day. So field sales teams, back in the day, a field sales team, a sales manager, for example, or a sales executive would be out in the field, go on a customer visit, have to pull out a map, find their way. A little more advanced would be some kind of PDA where they could then record notes digitally at their customer site. But a lot of times, guys are writing down notes or write into a notepad and then scribing those, or somehow having to scan those or print those back in to a digital form factor to where they can get them into some kind of digitized form. So that would be one example. HR personnel. So somebody who manages a team of employees would be, submitting requests and receiving vacation requests, sick day, time off requests, things that are related to the HR functionality of the business, but they would be receiving those by handwritten notes scribed on, Post-its and things that weren't as streamlined as what we can see nowadays or present day with these applications. And then remote teams of any sort, so people that need to communicate across the globe, but want some kind of centralized place to store that information and share that information, so there's visibility and transparency throughout. But these are just three I highlighted quickly. There's obviously many, many more. And you, as you start to see or start to watch this demonstration, maybe can come up with some of your own. Okay, great. So Exact apps. These are the three that are available from both the iOS store with respect to Apple products, or the Android store, the Google Play store with respect to the Android devices, and all are free. So what you have here on the left is Exact CRM, and that's going to be your relationship management application. We'll go dig deeper into that one here in a second. Exact HR self-service is in the middle, and then Exact expenses. And they're pretty straightforward in terms of the nomenclature, but what they do is really powerful when you start to take a look under the curtain and see how they function from just a feature set point of view. So let's kind of stop the talking piece and just kind of browse or go into the application. So I'm going to leave my presentation here for a second and just take one slide to the left. So what you're seeing here now is our hosted Exact Macola 10 environment here for algorithm. So this is my home page. So this is my Exact Macola 10 workspace, and what you see here is things that I've added quite easily with little to no time, being able to say, for example, put a weather widget here. So this is all, again, configurable, and this is what one of the new features of Exact Macola 10 that make it pretty exciting. So with little time at all, I was able to add in a few different widgets that provide me some access to different things that I need to start my day or manage my time a little better. So this weather widget here quite easily was able to be added. Calendar here for appointments coming up. Again, favorites here is something I created specifically for me, which is kind of a sales metric that I use to monitor sales success for certain things. And then this bottom one is a workflow task. And it's all here convenient. I have much more white space. Anything here you see, it can add an additional widget to, but this is what we started with, and this is kind of where I've kind of fallen into form with, so it's all good. I'm showing you these things because there is some synergy between how these applications work on your mobile device and what you see here within this ecosystem. So let's click into workflow because we want to be able to provide you with an idea. So workflow and synergy, for those that are not familiar, is essentially kind of an opportunity engagement, anything customer related that we are involved within and we need to speak to. We have the opportunity here to look at them in one cohesive space. We don't have to do a lot of darting around. So these are all customer related engagements, questions, support things that I need to either follow up on or action upon. And I can sort them here in any number of ways, as you see here with sort by nomenclature here. I can select start date or, date of origination, the priority. And these are all pulling directly from within the specific workflow tasks and relate to any number of these fields here that sort. So that priority call out was speaking directly to this priority symbol here. So if I sorted that, go back a degree, and sort that by priority, anything high priority would show up top, obviously, and anything low priority would be filtered to the bottom. And again, this is why we show you this, is just the ability to see and manage within Exact Macola the Synergy Enterprise or the business processing management, not silo, but pillar. You have the opportunity to see and manage your workflow in a whole new way. So your day-to-day operations can really be broken down into targeted customer follow-ups with a rich history of existing conversations, and then things that you need to follow up on with documents connected and everything in a real synergistic way. So makes a lot of sense. Another beauty of Exact Macola 10 is obviously all things are under one roof, like I discussed. So this financial tab is going to, if I clicked on this, you'd start to see the beginnings or the entrance point of Exact Macola ES. So from here I can, because I don't have access, if I were to click on, say, for example, chart of accounts, I would then be launched into Exact Macola ES without having to open additional app or do anything extra. I would just jump right into that. So they're really starting to bring all these things into a much more contiguous sense, where you don't have to have 3 or 4 apps running with all separate, separate kind of tasks going. It's all engineered to work together in a much more streamlined fashion. So very, very cool stuff here. So let me just jump out of Exact Macola right now. And again, if anybody has any questions on this, we'd love to show you this in a future demo or as your time permits, but we have a lot of great information about that. So I'm going to go back to my other screen, close out these goodies. And then I'm going to, so again, when we were looking in Synergy, if I go back here, we were looking at workflow, and you saw essentially my customer engagements for the foreseeable future. So all this list lives here, and that's kind of what I use to manage my time and follow-up. So if I now launch my phone so we can have access to this, you'll see some of the power behind why these applications are really cool and what they're doing for customers. So here's my phone, my home screen. I'll slide one to the left and jump into my folders here. And then you see those three apps that I highlighted before. So Exact CRM, I'm going to jump into that one first. And as I'm mousing around, I'm going to explain a little bit of the navigation. So when you first launch this app, I've already logged in, so you won't see that step of the puzzle, but I've authenticated using my named user credentials here at Algorithm, and that gives me access to obviously my accounts and everything related to me. But you can download the apps for free and just toggle this use demo mode on and play around with the apps and get a great feel for how they work, because there's a lot of great demo content within the app by default. But just navigationally, you've got this blue bar at the top. These three stripes here on the top left are going to be your navigation pane that take you back. And then when you're inside the main sidebar here, you have from top to bottom the list of things that are relevant for that role. So there's some nuances between the nomenclature with respect to the desktop app and the mobile app. So workflow, for example, which is what it's called, and Synergy Enterprise. And the application is called Inbox for whatever reason. So as Exact continues to develop and refine these experiences for two worlds, essentially, they want to start to converge those names. I would think, just to make sure it makes sense with respect to whatever path you take. So Inbox is workflow. Calendar is obviously that. Opportunities is opportunities as they exist in Synergy. You've got reports. So those are things that you can create to provide access to analytics or KPIs that are pertinent to your job task. Accounts, contacts, employees, activities, documents. And then Exact put this in here as a helpful link to the other Exact apps so you can have access to those quickly. But again, my navigation is either by virtue of pulling this panel here from the left edge of my screen towards the right, or I can just tap simply these three bars and do the same thing. So as you become more comfortable with the application, you'll see that here. So let me click in here quickly to Inbox. And anything look familiar here? As we looked at in our desktop app, I had a list of direct follow-ups and things that were related to at least to my job functionality and role here. And if I slide back over, I see the same list. So that's because I have these sorted, and I'll hit Inbox here at the top where the little downward triangle is, and that'll allow me to then refilter this based on any number of other credentials. But because I have it sorted by start date, I'm seeing exactly what I see inside of Synergy on Exact Macola 10. So a very powerful part of how you can see, for example, if I was in the field and boss calls asking what's going on with a particular account, I can go into my mobile app and simply click into an account or a workflow task and get up to speed pretty quickly. So just as a quick example, I can create one here just to test, and something that won't require any steps of approval or any additional tasking, but I'll just do a simple internal task for customer, just to give you a feel for how easy these applications are to utilize. So I pressed on internal task for customer. It launched me into another screen where I'm able to fill out the things relevant for this task. So these are all going to be test-related things that I'm gathering. So remarks is test. And then description, task. And autocorrect is our friends. So now we have the opportunity to, as I'm selecting here at account, I have the opportunity to select and code this to a particular customer. So I can just do ours, for example. and a contact. I can select any number of people there, so I'll just select I'll go back a tree there. Miles Davis. And as I fill out this, you get the idea. As you fill these things out, you can make it a private task or you can make it a public task. Private simply means that you're the only one who sees that, the people above you with security rights. Public means that, everybody would have a visibility to it in the system. And then documents. These are things that have been uploaded. So this is a very important thing to call out. These are things that have been uploaded previously inside the software. So that Office integration that we saw in the desktop version hasn't yet pulled across to this yet, and I'm imagining that's something that they're working on. But as Apple, who builds the rules and fundamentals around how these applications can be developed, changes those rules, the developers have a lot more flexibility to pull things directly from separate apps to make those things happen. Additional documents you're able to code and tag, projects, item number, and so on and so forth. So now I have this test request that I'll click and save. So that's been created. It's cool. Internal task with a follow-up date of today. Start date, completion date are today. So if I go in here and refresh this, and scroll down, I should see what has occurred is that test task has now synchronized back into my Exact Macola 10 and my enterprise, so the back office, and all that relevant information is here. So I have the ability now to process this through once I get back to the home office or small office environment where I'm working out of, and complete that entire task. So now that's out of there. So you can see how quickly you can start to leverage these two worlds and have same transparency, visibility throughout the whole chain that way. So really, really nice. So I've kind of jumped around in this one. Let me go into another application here. So I'm leaving the CRM app, and now I've gone into the self-service app. I'll click that to launch. And this one's primarily HR related. So again, that navigation is exactly like you saw on the CRM app. So the three bars on the top provide me an access to the options or settings features on the back end. And this app is much more streamlined. So it's time off requests, the ability to select sick leave requests, payroll slips, files, another link to the exact apps, and then settings again where you can either use demonstration data or synchronize this to your own database and see, kind of play around within it to get a feel for how it functions that way. So you've got, if I'm creating one of these here, this is the main screen where you're able to view how many days you have left to use for your year and create a new with the plus. The plus is your universal symbol for add. And you'll see that in all of the apps. I can put a description in here for what kind of task I want to put in here. So this would be, let's just say this is a doctor's appointment. And you can untoggle this so it's not all day. And then it lets you select the start and end time. So let's say Wednesday from 2 p.m. to Wednesday to our work days are pretty nuclear here, so I'll put that in there. And then we can just put additional notes for the approving manager that needs to see what they need to see. So doctor's appointment, follow up. Excellent. So I've selected that. Now that's been added into the back end or the back office version of the app. So pretty simple, nothing crazy here. Let me leave this application. And then the final one we don't have access to. I wasn't able to get it to work, so I'm using the demo data so you'll get to see an example of this. But this is a powerful expense tracking app. So I'll use this tool. It gives me this error here because the time zone is selected in European time. So when you first launch this app, you'll be in this area of the application, and you can select Use Demo, and then go back a tree, and just go to Overview. And now you're seeing kind of the list of demo data that exists in this app with respect to expense approval. So if I wanted to create a quick expense approval here, I hit the plus button again. Give it a description, so I can say and then select the amount it was. So it's $25. And this is even a cool feature here. So this green attachment plus button, if I click that, it'll launch the front-facing camera on my iPhone. So then I'm able to take a picture, for example, of the receipt. That picture can be saved in whatever file format we want. So I'll select large. It's going to upload this here now to the database. Just imagine, what was required before to get something like this to happen. It's pretty fluid now with mobile devices, and for those of us that use Exact Macola, you realize how nice this is from the standpoint of being able to just have this all compile for our field technicians on their mobile devices without needing to belabor them with scanning or finding a Kinko's and making a scan of the receipts and sending it that way. So that makes it really, really nice. So while this is uploading here, let me go back in here. And now remarks. This is a test. And then we can code this to an account like we were with everything else able to do. I'll just use ABN. And then select a project, mobile app development, and save. And so you can see very quickly that that's been added here now. So I have created a new expense, lunch with customer for £25 to be approved. And as an employee, I can track this here just by going in and clicking and seeing its status, and always being able to have up-to-date information that's accurate for these kind of expense tracking tasks. So those are the 3 applications that I wanted to highlight very briefly. We had around 30 minutes, and I think we're at that time. So I'm going to go back into I'm going to leave this and go back into my presentation and just give folks a chance to ask any questions. So we're at the Q&A portion of our event. If there are any questions, I did not see any earlier.
Carl, I actually just unmuted the phones for everybody, so if anyone has a question that they'd like to ask Carl, please feel free. Does anybody have a question? Please speak right up. Well, apparently, Carl, your presentation was so thorough that nobody has any questions, but I have one. I noticed on the expense claim submission that you did not have to select who that was going to go or flow through to for approval. Am I correct that it's going to automatically pass that through following the workflow as it's designed within Exact Macola 10? You don't have to do any additional work setting up who those submissions would flow to. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct, Jeff. And what's nice about these applications is that they are kind of a direct mirror of what you see in your back end or the back office of Exact Macola 10. And that's with respect to who creates, who approves, who realizes, who processes. So the security that you see within your procedures and Synergy now will pass through directly to the applications. So you won't have to go and recreate the wheel or reinvent the wheel, especially if you're busy on the go out in the field and you don't have the chance to do several other steps to make something as simple as an expense request go through. So yeah, that's a great question and very true.
Okay. And we've got a couple of questions in the Q&A box I want to get to. Can this mobile app interact with, say, for instance, order creation or other functions within the Exact Macola 10 solution?
Not yet. So that is a great question, and I know as Exact is kind of further developing Exact Macola 10 to further synchronize their different varying apps. So if I go back to that slide, a lot of these things already overlap to begin with, but the core ERP and business process management functionality is something that they're continually investing time and resources into building under one roof. So as Synergy can be launched through a browser, I think there's a day, soon on the horizon where an ERP set of functionality will be launched, will be able to be accessed through Safari or Chrome. But that hasn't happened yet. And as they're taking looks at ways to kind of further leverage and align these different parts of the software, they're certainly going to make sense or make some segmented app, maybe an additional app for exact, order entry. But right now they've kind of targeted where things make sense, and those things that make sense are the things that already have web, at least from a web development standpoint, visibility to the ERP functionality. So that right now it's Synergy and the expenses.
Okay, so let's extend that question out a little bit. Not thinking in terms of order creation, but on the CRM app, are we able to, for instance, create new contacts within an account that already exists in EM10?
You absolutely can. So if I go back into, I'll hide this. If I go back into the CRM app, I'll pull this back up and go into that particular area. I will go under contacts. And you see here that this is just a list of everyone that exists in, my account basis for now, but I can hit this plus button quite easily. And now, if I meet somebody new in a meeting at a customer visit, or I know a customer that's not currently in our Synergy and I want to put them in there, I'm able to fill out this information, hit the check button, and then that live synchronizes back to the database, back to the back office. So one of the limiting factors, because so much of this is occurring over the web, is that you obviously will have to have cell service for these applications to run. So that would be, something to pay attention to prior to going out or dispatching these to your employees, is that they obviously have their own internal cell signal, but if there is spotty signal service or not as good quality service around where they're going to be visiting, their access to this application is going to be impacted. So to think about those things early and often would be important.
Okay. All right, great. And then we've got another question. What is required to start building workflows? And I'm taking that this question came up because of how you were showing that you can add something into your workflow.
Okay, so workflow creation is done actually in the business process management arm of the software inside of Exact Macola. So that wouldn't be something you would build on the phone. And those are going to be pre-designed based on a standard operating procedure that you've targeted at the company level. So if you have a way to engage during a sales cycle, like ours, for example, let me go under workflow. And we have several types. So you see direct account, customer sales. These are all different versions or iterations of a workflow, and they have their own nuances to the approval process. So this is a 4-step approval here where somebody creates it, somebody approves that creation, then it goes to the next person who kind of actions on that for the foreseeable time until it's processed, which is either sold or closed out as lost or moved on to another type of task. But the building of these things will be very intimately designed between yourselves and the company to kind of select how many steps of a process and who gets visibility to what step of the process. Those would have to be designed. So those are going to be something that would kind of, go back to how do you want them to be designed and how would you like those to be built, because there's any number of ways we've seen people deploy these.
So in other words, you can, you're going to have to create those different type of workflow tasks within EM10, but then once that workflow task, like for instance, the internal task that you created from your phone, that then could be generated out of the mobile app. Is that correct?
That's correct. So again, this is a mirror of what you've already done here. So that task I created earlier as a test is showing up here, and it's showing as processed. So if I process it, then now that internal task, the three-step internal task was already created, and I'm just using that on the phone to launch that particular admin task. But again, if you have another way that you do that that's better for your company or relevant for your company, then that would be created on the back end first and then synchronized to the mobile app through the application.
And then that would allow the mobile user to actually create workflow tasks for the types of tasks that were already created within a customer's individual EM10 installation. Is that correct?
That's exactly it, right. So it's reflecting, the mobile app is then just reflecting what has been already created in the desktop space. So
okay, so to answer our attendees' question today, you would have to create a different type of workflow task initially, but any workflow tasks that are existing within your system, somebody using the mobile app will then be able to create that type of task, whether it's sending a task to somebody else within your organization that needs to be completed for a customer, or you can create a task for yourself, like what Carl showed with the internal task, and you can select then the different employee that task would be directed to for them to take action. In the case of what Carl showed, he was simply creating that task and directing it to himself, which I personally do all the time as a reminder to follow up on things as we move forward through the process of whether it's getting an order processed or following up with a customer or just making sure that we're doing the type of communication with our customers that we should be doing. So that's a great type of way that you can use the mobile app, especially for those people that are out in the field. Are there any other questions that anyone has about the mobile apps? And again, feel free if you'd like to speak up and ask the question yourself, you certainly can. But if you would prefer to type the question in via the chat or Q&A windows in WebEx, you can do that as well. Any other questions? I don't see any. Okay. What we're going to do then is we're going to go ahead and keep this short and sweet. Carl, thank you very much for demonstrating the mobile apps for our attendees. Obviously, if anyone who's attending has further questions, please do not hesitate to contact your algorithm account manager. If you're unsure of who your algorithm account manager is, please, by all means, you can contact algorithm at our main telephone number, 614-847-0812, and we would be happy to direct you to your appropriate account manager. Also, obviously, we'd be happy to show you a personalized demonstration for you and your organization if you'd like to see the mobile applications in more depth. But at this point, unless somebody has other questions, we're going to go ahead and let people get back to work. Oh, yes, we did get a question here at the end. I apologize. We are recording this demonstration, and it will be available. I think WebEx takes about an hour or so for the recording to be made available to us. And so we'd be happy to make that recording available to you. I know that we post them on our website and also our YouTube channel, but we would be happy to send you a copy of the recording. And unless somebody has other questions, I think we're going to go ahead and cut it short at this point. We appreciate everyone's time for this brief dive into the mobile apps for Exact Macola 10. Carl, again, great job. Thank you for taking the time and presenting this timely topic to us.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you, everyone who attended.
And last word I want to mention again, please take a look at the Exact Macola Evolve page on our website, which is the customer conference that is going to be in May in Boca Raton, Florida. We'd love to see everybody there. And there's more information as well as FAQs and details about registering there available from our website. Again, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week when we have our next algorithm webinar on Tuesday at 1:30. Thanks again.